Appreciate it. My name is, oops, okay, how come there we go. There we go, a little bit about me. My name is Dan Dubreuil. I'm chair of the PR committee. I'm a member of Rotary North. I've been retired for a few years. Before that, I spent about 30 years in marketing. So know a fair amount about communications, a little bit about social media. I'm quickly trying to become an expert in that field, and what I'm sharing today is part of that journey. That said, if you have any questions about what I've covered or the points I'm making, please shoot them over in chat or follow up with a phone call or email. I'm always available now that I'm retired, and with COVID-19, unfortunately, I'm probably more available than I want to be. So if you ever have any questions about this stuff, just give me a call or an email. I'll be happy to get back to you ASAP. As I mentioned, questions, please use the chat. We might open it up throughout the meeting if there's a stumbling block, something I've got to cover that I didn't plan to, but ideally, I'd like to address the questions at the end of the meeting. For the record, yes, a copy of today's presentation is actually currently available on the district website. If you go to the PR page and look at the bottom left-hand side in the nav window, look for a link that's called Powerful Facebook Posts. There'll be a full copy of this presentation in PDF form. As well, on Monday, I'll release, that's a really good point. I've got to tape this. Let me, I got to start the video. There we go. Video's now started. I got to take a copy of this and post it on the our district's YouTube channel. As well, everybody who registered for this webinar, I'll be sending out the links to both the hard copy as well as the tape version on YouTube. Probably do that on Monday morning, Monday afternoon sometime. Okay, there we go, I'm back. Okay, sorry, I'm just recording this. I just have to, there we go. Got to make sure that this is set up to record. Yes, we are recording, good. Okay. The content for today, we're going to talk a little bit about the power of Facebook. We're going to talk about Facebook's algorithm and how to drive engagement. That's really the focus of the webinar. Talk a lot about videos and images. There is content for copy as well as hashtags. I'm not Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Okay, so yeah, basic understanding is going to be really helpful to get you out of the gates on today's presentation. Things I'm not going to cover. I'm not going to cover Facebook Live, Facebook Stories, or kind of ephemeral content stuff that disappears quickly. Events, boosts, or paid ad. If you want to let me know through chat or email, if that's something that interests you, we could pull together another webinar on that in the coming months. I'd be happy to pull that together for the benefit of clubs. We do have a webinar on Instagram coming your way. I believe it's in October, so we'll cover that social media platform at that point in time. Okay, just a quick note. Successful Facebook posts are, if you think about the baseball analogy, we had our home opener yesterday. Blue Jays won 6-4, yay. This is not about hitting the home run and winning the baseball game that way. This is about singles, putting men on base and working around the bases till you get the score. So we're going to cover a lot of things today. Some things are more important than others. There's no home run ball where you pop it over the fence and all your problems are solved. So with that, hang on, hang tight. Here we go. We're gonna keep it moving. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the power of Facebook. But first, we have to address the elephant in the room. Facebook is no perfect corporate citizen. There are lots of issues with Facebook, particularly right now with anti-privacy issues and alt-right hate speech, a lot of it percolating out of the US market. They are no angels. That said, they are still a very powerful communication platform to work with. In Canada, we've got roughly 24 million users on Facebook, and about 3/4 of them use the platform each and every day. So a lot of power here. If we could dance with somebody else from an ethics and values and moral standpoint, I'd love to, but at this point in time, it's really the go-to social media platform if we want to get our word out. Okay. One of the reasons that makes it so is the fact that it is used by almost all age cohorts at at a high level. So we take a look at younger people, middle-aged people, and somewhat older people. All those three large age groups use Facebook. Platforms like Instagram tend to be skewing towards much younger people. Twitter, generally not used as nearly as much as Facebook. So that's what makes this platform so appealing. So why do we use it? No secret, it lets you get your message out to people who have an interest in your message, your followers, people that have either on your personal profile, become your friends, or on your club page have become your followers. And more importantly, it gets to people who are friends of your followers. And we're going to see later on in this presentation how powerful that can be. Any questions, Barb?
There's a question about stats. Are there stats for TikTok?
Stats for TikTok. Now, we'll take a note. And I'll see if I can update that page and get TikTok added to that graph. Okay, so Facebook's algorithm, bit of a scary word there. It's basically, a mathematical tool that Facebook uses to run its business. The algorithm, and it's something that is evolving and changes. Facebook has changed its algorithm probably a dozen times in the past 10 years in a substantive way. But basically, it's the software behind Facebook that decides which posts any given user will see at a point in time. Okay. Why is that important? Oops, this is not working. The more we know about how their algorithm works, the greater the chance we'll actually have of creating posts or ads, if we want to use ads, that will show up on our followers' Facebook feed. So, it's kind of understanding, we don't have all the numbers of the combination for the lock, but if we know, twice to the left, once to the right, and twice to the left, there's a greater chance that we're going to be able to crack that combination and get that lock open. Okay. Okay, so here's the reality, and a lot of people actually don't even know that. On average, every time you post, I'm going to use the language of posting to a Facebook page. So I'm going to make the assumption that people on this call today are in some way responsible for putting content on their club's page. So that's the language you're going to use. So on average, every time an individual posts something on their club's page, it only gets shown to 5% of their followers. So if your club has 100 followers, 5 of them will see your message. 95 of them will not see your message, which is a concern. So it kind of, makes you wonder, why am I doing all this work for just 5 people to see a message? Well, the good news is you can break the average if you know a couple of simple rules, and that's really what we're here to talk about. You can drive your post beyond 5% on average consistently through some tricks of the trade and knowing the algorithm. A lot of people just frankly don't know the algorithm. So why only 5%? Well, no surprise. Facebook is an advertising company. They want you to buy ads. So they want you to send them a check for X dollars so that you can reach the other 95% of users on a regular basis. That's kind of the secret of Facebook. Once upon a time, that number was well above 5%. But as Facebook has become more and more successful, more and more people are using the platform, it's causing that 5% to go down. The reality is every time a user logs on a Facebook, they have up to 1,500 posts or ads competing to appear in their newsfeed every time. So the algorithm is trying to figure out, okay, of these 1,500 potential messages, which ones are we actually going to show to John Smith, who lives in Barrie? Well, that's what the algorithm is there for. It's going to figure out which messages are most relevant to show to John Smith. And the reason for that is simple. If Facebook wants to be a successful, thriving company, it's got to be relevant to each and every user. And so they want to make sure that John Smith and Barrie, every time they log into the Facebook page, he's seeing stories or ads that are right up his alley. It's content he's going to be interested in. It's content he's going to stick with, so that he just doesn't log out of Facebook in 2 minutes. He stays on Facebook for the next half hour. and sees all kinds of content that works for him. So that's the reality of the scenario of Facebook right now in terms of what gets through to users and the importance of the algorithm. Okay. So I like to think of the algorithm a little bit like a feedback loop. So if you've ever been to a wedding and the groom's up there and he's talking on the mic and he gets a little too close to the speaker, all of a sudden you kind of have this feedback loop and you've got the screeching sound happening louder and louder through the speaker because the sound from the microphone, the sound from the speaker is being picked up by the microphone and it's being reamplified and reamplified and reamplified. That's what the algorithm's looking for. It's looking for constantly looking at every post in real time to figure out whether it's getting engagement, whether it's being read, whether it's being commented on. And as soon as it sees that, it starts to share that message with more and more people. So you start to break beyond the 5% to maybe 10% or 15% if and when the algorithm sees that there's a message that people find interesting. Okay. So the kick is, or the key is to try to get your content noticed right out of the gate so that that algorithm starts to work in your favor. So here it is. Here's the secret sauce. What is it that the algorithm is looking for? First and foremost, it's looking for a post that generates strong emotional reactions. So often we talk about the word likes. You know, did my post get any likes? Likes are good. You know, the thumbs up, that's good. But you know, the algorithm will recognize that. But what the algorithm is really looking for is people who give it a love button or a ha-ha button, something a little bit more, you know, juicy. And that helps notify the algorithm that, hey, there's something here that people are reacting to, some emotional content. So that's first and foremost what the algorithm is looking for. Secondly, the algorithm is looking for comments on a post. So if a post generates one comment, that's good. If it generates several comments, that's even better. If there are comments on comments, which we would call a discussion, somebody says something and somebody responds to what that one person said within the comment section, that's golden. That means that there's real discussion going on of a substantive matter, and Facebook sees that as relevant, and that's what it starts to, you know, get the algorithm excited about sharing that post with other people. If a post gets shared, that's good. The algorithm is going to recognize that. If a post gets reshared, i.e., somebody who shares it to a friend and then that friend shares it with somebody else, that's you know, that's kind of as close to a home run in algorithm talk as you can get, because that means that it's got some real social value, that the message is starting to be shared organically. And then finally, the algorithm recognizes consistent contributors. So if you've got a page and you put a post up there once every 3 weeks, and it's a good one, great, you know, that's good for you. You've got a good post. But if you're there posting something, let's say once a day, every day, the algorithm recognizes your behavior and it's going to reward that, because Facebook, again, back to the community idea, it wants a large community of people that are trying to post relevant content, and it's going to reward people that at least put the effort in and put something out on a daily basis.
Should you be reposting your same message 2 or 3 times?
You can repost your message 2 or 3 times. Now, if it's not relevant to begin with, it's probably not going to be relevant the second time around. So it may go to see 5 people the first time. If you repost it, chances are it's going to go to many of that 5% again. Not the end of the world, because, you know, there is some value in a repetition of a message, but you just have to understand there are some limitations to reposting content. I wouldn't avoid it, but I wouldn't go crazy with the idea either. Can everybody hear when Barb talks? I want to make sure that I forgot to re-ask the question there, but I want to make sure everybody got that. Other things. So content that is native video. So this is a video file that you've taken and uploaded to Facebook. That's known as native video. A video that's been shared from, let's say, YouTube onto a Facebook page, that's not native video. That video resides on YouTube server. We want this video content to be on Facebook server. So the algorithm will reward native video and at least videos that are 3 minutes long. So the algorithm can identify how long your video is as you post it, and it wants longer video. Now, obviously, a 3-minute video that is really boring and everybody, you know, doesn't, essentially gets ignored, isn't a lot of value. But the ingoing assumption is longer is better, because that'll keep people on the Facebook platform for longer, and Facebook's algorithm rewards that. In the absence of video or the absence of 3-minute videos, simple animation is okay too. So a GIF file where you take, just simple moving images. Humans are interesting characters. We have a tendency to notice things that move and change. So static images are good. Simple animation's better. And then finally, I mentioned images are good. Tags are good as well. So the idea of tagging somebody or some organization in the copy that may be associated with your post is always good, because that creates social media. As when you tag somebody in a comment, they're notified that they've been tagged. They'll approve it, hopefully, and then that creates the churn, if you will, of social engagement amongst people um, that may have an interest in that content. Okay. So that's it. This is the take home. This is the money page. If you do this consistently, you will definitely have more engagement. Okay. So a couple of things to avoid. We talked about this already. Avoid posts that have links to video. Facebook does not want you leaving their platform to go to YouTube. That's the competition. So avoid that if you can. Not always possible, but if you can. Avoid links that take you to weak websites. So if a weak website is one that has very low traffic, is poorly designed, has dead ends, again, Facebook has the power to examine the links that you use. And if it's a crappy link embedded within your copy, there's a less of a chance it's actually going to share your post, because ultimately it doesn't want its users to have a bad experience. Clickbait, which is exaggerated claims, you've seen them before. Avoid that. Their algorithms can pick off the type of language that is used in exaggerated claims and clickbait. And outright asking for likes and shares and comments, don't do that. Seems like a great idea, but again, their algorithm looks for that type of language and will not share posts that has that type of language in it. Okay, how to drive engagement. Some simple rules here. Always, always, always post with a purpose. Every time you think about putting a post, you got to think about who's the message for. Is it for my current club members? Is it for people I want to attract for my club? Is it for businesses in my community I want to attract to Rotary? It's for volunteers for an event that may be coming up that's organized by Rotary. Always have a target. Think about what the message you want to communicate them and why they'd be interested in that message. Obviously, people will engage with messages that are more interesting. What response do you want to generate? What's the call to action? Do you want them to sign up to volunteer for something? You want them to go to a page to learn more about something? Or you just want to give them a link to or have them watch a video so they can become educated on something? So every time you have a post, go through this little checklist and make sure you have a very, very clear purpose. It's very simple. It's easy not to do. You can get excited about an idea and you just go to the computer and you start tapping away and boom, it's posted, and you realize, oh man, a day later you realize, that could have probably been better if I put 5 more minutes of thought into it. So slow down, think about quality over quantity, and make sure whatever you do post it has a clear purpose. We talked a little bit about targeting just then. As Rotarians, we have lots of potential targets for our messages. Really understand who your target is for a given message, and it could be more than one person. Because if you know your target, understand what the purpose of the message, you can generate more engagement. And again, it's just a little bit of self-reflection in terms of what you're doing and how you're doing it can go a long way. Okay. Okay, some pragmatic help here. This is a color chart on the left-hand side. We have the days of the week, and the bottom of the chart, we have the hours of the day. It's funny reality that most posts within Facebook generate engagement kind of in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, most notably in around lunchtime. So this could be people at home, on their couch, or it could be people at work who are looking for something to do in around lunchtime. And they go to their feed, use their mobile phone or their tablet or maybe even their computer at work and check out what's going on in the world of Facebook. So because Facebook is a feed, i.e. newest stories usually appear at the top of individuals' feed, the best time to post is when people are online looking at stories. And so it's not to say that you shouldn't be posting, let's say on the weekend where, engagement seems to be light, but if you are going to only do 3 or 4 posts in a given week, probably best to look at, anywhere between Tuesday and Friday in the middle of the day. It's going to increase your chances that your post will actually generate some kind of engagement. Okay. Post often and consistently, I talked about this. So if you've got slightly different messages, different targets, your 5% can turn into far more than 5%. Now, you may only hit your every single message may only talk to 5% of your followers, but if you do, 8 messages over the course of a week, and each message is targeted at somebody different with some different interests or a different message, you can certainly broaden your reach or increase your reach by increasing your frequency. And again, the algorithm kind of rewards that type of behavior. Okay, so those are the basics. Now we're going to talk to you a little bit about the power of video.
Is it okay to have one page and post personal, rotary, and business messages, or do there have separate pages for personal?
So the question is, it better to have separate pages for personal, rotary, and business, or everything on one page? If you are responsible for your club's Facebook page, that page should only be Rotary stuff. Shouldn't be personal, shouldn't be business. If you're talking about your personal page, yeah, you can have a mix. It's totally okay to let your friends and business members know that you're a Rotarian. I think generally speaking, people see that as a good thing. That said, you probably won't want to inundate them with Rotary messages. They can be somewhat boring and tedious for non-Rotarians, so you want to use a little bit of judgment there. But certainly everything on a Facebook page that is a Rotary page should be Rotary content. Okay, power of video. Use cats. That's it. We use next. I'm kidding. So the important fact, video content that's on Facebook, that's again native video, generates 2.3 times more organic reach than a photo. So, using numbers, if you just have a photo, you maybe reach 5%, but if you have a video, you're probably going to reach something closer to 15%. So you can see the power of, and this is just a regular video. Very, very powerful. We've talked about the power of native video. Equally important is to use captions. 80% of users who watch Facebook videos watch the videos with the sound off. So they're in an environment, maybe they're at home watching TV and doing their Facebook, and they don't want to disturb their family members, other people in the room. Maybe they're on the bus, subway, maybe they're at work. They don't want their co-workers to understand they're watching videos at work, so they'll watch them with the captions off. So it's really, really important that when you put a video up that has some type of copy in it, or people talking, that you use sub captions or you use captions. Now, the nice thing is, and I won't go through this through detail, but when you go to upload a video in Facebook, you would normally go to the publishing tools, which is at the top nav bar of your page. Click on that. Then you would go to the video library and upload your video. Click. Once your video has been uploaded, you have the option of picking a caption. You select a language, in our case would be English, and you say add captions and auto-generate. And then Facebook, through its vast warehouses of computers somewhere, who knows where they are, but they will automatically put captions on the video you uploaded. And the nice thing is it's usually pretty well done, despite how fast you talk or the accents you have or how many people are in the video. It does a decent job of doing it. It's never, I wouldn't say it's ever perfect, but it does a pretty good job. The nice thing is you can, within the same publishing tool within Facebook, go to the app and see what kind of translation it gave you. And if it's not right, you can click this little pencil here and you can edit it. And you might have to tweak it now and then, and boom, all of a sudden, for let's say a 3-minute video, it could take you as little as 3 minutes to put subtitles and captions on it, do a quick proofing on it, and there you go. You're in business with captions on your video. Okay.
Someone wanted you to run through those steps again.
Okay, unfortunately, I don't have the time to run through the steps again. This is one of those things, if you want to call me or email me, I'd be happy to walk you through that in person. Again, if you go to the hard copy of this deck and look at these pages, that's probably the best way to go. But the best place to start is top nav, drop down where it says more, and click on publishing tools. And then you're going to see the following screens that I just showed you. It's going to look something like,
And
okay.
tags more or less in one post.
Tags more or less in one post. I'll address this really quickly. Individual tags, so if you're calling out a business or a person, like a tag, yeah, a couple in a post is fine. Hashtags, which is a different tool altogether, no more than 3 in a post. Other than that, if you don't do that, it becomes like a hashtag wasteland where your message is getting lost in a jumble of just a mess of hashtags. And I'll show you guys what that looks really quickly later on in this presentation. Okay, so we talked about 3 minutes long if possible. If you can, strive for high quality, so HD video. Most phones today have HD, but if you don't have HD, just live with what's practical. It's Facebook is looking to reward people that allow their Facebook to be shown in high definition on larger screens. But if you can't do that because you don't have the tools, it'll take whatever you got. Importantly, shoot in 1:1. So the dimensions of the image should be 1:1. That's the perspective. So here's an example. A lot on the screen here, but the way you read this little chart is the numbers at the top of each one of these little images is the size of the screen. So this might be a tablet. This might be a cell phone. These sizes are not relative to each other because obviously a tablet would be bigger than a cell phone. The number in white here, the 69, is the dimensions of the image. So why we're recommending 1:1 is because an image that's as high as it is wide shows up pretty well in most formats. So this would be how a 1:1 would show up on a typical cell phone. This is how it might show up on a tablet type of a device or another tablet type of a device over here. So you're using most of the active screen. Most of the screen is filled with your image. What we're trying to avoid, because 16:9 is a popular file format for most videos, is this. If you shoot 16:9 and people see it on their cell phone, which a lot of people will be seeing it on their cell phone, your video turns out to be a very, very small part of their total screen. And the less visually engaging it is, because how small it is, the less chance people are actually going to engage with your video. So 1:1 if at all possible. Nice thing about 1:1, it is also works pretty well on Instagram and its platform. I'm not talking about Instagram today. We will at another point in time. But the nice thing about Facebook and Instagram, they're both owned by the same company, and they do have there are software packed or applications out there that allow you easily share a given video to Facebook and Instagram at the exact same time. So one click of the button, boom, you're on both platforms. So it's nice if a video in this case is the exact same dimension for both platforms to use well. Okay. Of course, add a title in the description. Make it catchy, make it informative. Don't use too many words. People don't like to read. Respect privacy and copyright laws. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. Greatly summarize it, but I will spend some time on this. Okay, so what can we do? Taking a photo, people may or may not know this, so bear with me. Taking a photo or video of anybody in public is not illegal. You're in a public place, taking people of anybody in public is not illegal unless you are violating their reasonable expectation of privacy. So if you drag your camera into a washroom and start taking pictures of people there, that's going to be a problem because you have violated their expectation of privacy. Now, it's a subjective idea. The courts are very gray in this area. So every time it's brought before a judge, it's going to be a matter of opinion as to what was a reasonable expectation of privacy. Okay, so that's taking the photo or video. Using the photo or video is something completely different. You cannot use a photo or a video of someone taken in a public place unless you get permission of that individual. And they have to be the prominent subject of your picture or video. So if you got people in the background, you don't have to get their permission. They're innocent bystanders. But if the person you're taking of is front and center in your video, you've got to get their permission. The best case scenario is a paper release where you get their signature. That rarely ever happens. What at minimum you should do is before you take their pictures, approach them and say, explain who you are, explain why you have an interest in taking their picture, tell them that it may be used on Facebook on a Rotary type platform. If they don't understand who Rotary is or what we do, you may want to explain that. And to generally leave them with the impression that it is going to be for the good of the community, because that's generally what our pictures tend to do, is talk about good news stories and the good that we're doing either in our local community or internationally. Okay. Now, taking a photo on private property without permission could be illegal. In that case, you've got to abide by the rules or policy of the owner of that private property. So, for instance, let's say you're at a ball game at the Sky Dome and you take a picture. Technically, that could be illegal. I personally don't know what the rules and the policies are of Sky Dome for taking pictures, but it could be illegal. So if you take pictures there, and you're going to post them on social media for under the title of Rotary, you may want to just familiarize yourself with what the rules are before you take that post any further. Okay. Now, of course, video that you've taken from another source. So let's say it is another YouTube video or content you've got from somebody else's Facebook site. You just have to do a little bit of investigation to make sure that whatever content you're using is in fact shareable. No surprise, filming people as big business people who are professionals, make their living doing that, want to get paid for their efforts. So we have got to respect that, obviously. So this takes a little bit of research to understand what you're using and where it came from and whether you've got the rights to use it. Okay. And we're going to talk about sources of content a little bit, and hopefully I'll be able to give you some ideas that's going to solve that problem. Sorry, just doing a quick time check here. Okay, we're halfway through. I think we're in good shape. So my little plug here, use the correct branding. I'm not going to dwell on it, but as you know, Rotary has new branding. It's been around now for probably 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer. So if your content has branding in it, use the right brand marks. You can go to our website or go to this link here, bit.ly/brand, and get a very simple 2 or 3 page PDF as to what the right branding looks like. And then you can go to Rotary International or just give me a call. I'll send it to you. The electronic brands that you can use in videos or images. Okay. Okay. So we talked about always posting with a purpose. Now, what are the types of posts, whether they're video or other, that get shared most often? Well, probably no big surprise. It's, breaking news stories, heartwarming stories, things that have emotion to them, practical advice. There's a huge industry out there in terms of videos giving advice. Probably a lot of the content I got this morning is from those videos. Behind the scenes content, so stuff that's a little kind of secretive and people may have an interest in knowing, or serialized stories. So, think of your soap opera where you divulge a little bit at a time and get people to come back and understand how the story evolves. So that's the type of stuff that gets shared. Now, the reality is we're Rotarians. What's the type of content we have to share? Well, it's usually, fundraising campaigns and trying to build awareness for them, or it's, what's taking place at a fundraising event. It could be talking about volunteering, planting trees or something along those lines. It could be meetings or speakers that were really interesting that we've attended, whether they're Rotarian meetings or other engagements like that. It could be check presentations. Your challenge, and it's not an easy one, is to try to get our content to come in a form that people find interesting. And it takes some thought, it takes some effort. I'm not going to give you a list of ideas right now. That's kind of beyond what we can do in an hour. But there are some great examples out there, either within our district or other districts of clubs who are doing that. A great example I'll give you right now is I'm partial. I used to be Rotarian in the club Burlington Lakeshore. They just finished a big drive-through rib fest on July 1st here in Burlington. I think they generated $25,000. Anyways, leading up to that event and at that event and following that event, they were online on their on their Facebook channel with video content that was inspiring and told the story of what they're doing and how they're going to try to do it. So there's a perfect example how you can take a typical, maybe not so typical, Rotary event and kind of use the hooks that make a great story.
Should we be sure to post regularly, set a schedule, repost monthly?
Definitely set a schedule. I'm not going to talk about content schedules, but as if you're responsible for your club's content, if let's say you're solely responsible, I would plan, the beginning of the week, okay, I got to do 4 posts this week and try to get them anywhere between, Monday and Friday and think about what they're going to be and plan them out a little bit. Absolutely. If you want to repost some of those, if you post something, you find, oh, it's got some engagement, it's got some traction. Yeah, you can take that and post it later on in the month if it's relevant, still relevant at that point in time. But yeah, the question is a little bit about a content plan. So people are really at, on the top of the game. They'll look at the full year at some point in the planning process and say, okay, these are the things I want to talk about this Rotary year. And so it could be about, okay, in a month, we know that we've got a fundraising event in October. So most of my posts at the end of September and the beginning of October are going to talk about promoting that event or celebrating that event and amplifying the message and the good that the event did. Or it could be taking a look at the Rotary calendar. So August is membership month in Rotary. And so you might want to start off the month of August with 2 or 3 posts to talk about the importance of or the ways to get new members into your club. So there are all kinds of little hooks and ways that you can get content. Sharing is a very important part of this platform, and I'm going to talk about where you can get content and get ideas to share. So it's not too much work. You're not expected to come out, let's say you're going to post 5 times a week with 5 original posts each and every week. Quite frankly, if you've got 2 good original posts and 3 shared posts, you're doing a great job. Okay. So talking a little bit about content, what's in it, think about in your own case, why do most people, or why did you join Rotary? It's probably because you want to have fellowship, friends, and fun. You want to make some kind of a difference in this world, whether it's your local city or internationally. You want to be part of a team and the joy that that brings when you've got success, and maybe also for personal growth and development, okay? So these are all very familiar ideas to us. Hopefully at least one of these struck a chord with you. And so you've got to understand and realize, especially this year, that a large part of your follower base for any Facebook page is and are current Rotarians. So these are the things that interest us. So your story should probably reflect these ideas in some way, shape, or form. And if they do, no surprise, they're going to resonate. Now, I say it's really important this year. The reality is all clubs this year are, or Rotary in general is going through, going to have a tough year. We all like to go to, whether it's our weekly meeting or bi-weekly meeting, see our friends we haven't seen for a while, chit chat for a bit, engage in real time, have real human relationships in person. That can't happen due to COVID-19, at least not for the next little while. So if we can replicate some of that feeling and emotion virtually through Facebook and remind people what it's like to be a Rotarian in a true sense, whether it's current Rotarians or people who have interest in Rotary, that in my mind can do nothing but good for the success of your Facebook page and hopefully also the success of your club. Okay. Okay, shifting gears, we're going to talk a little bit about the power of images. So video is the best. If you can't do a video, use an image. So a Facebook post with an image will generate 3 times more engagement than a post without image. Now, frankly, I can't even think of that many posts that don't have an image. So maybe that bar is pretty low, but find images and use them if you can't do Facebook videos. Okay, a little bit of science here. These are the types of images that tend to generate strong emotional reactions. So portraits, babies, of course, animals, images of people doing inspirational things because it's like, oh, geez, look at what they're doing. I think I can do that too. So people kind of get invested in the idea. Nostalgic images, and then overall feelings of happiness. Now, as Rotarians and thinking about our page, we probably can't leverage all these, unless we can use animals in a cute way or babies in a quite cute way, but we can probably use inspirational images or feelings of happiness. There's lots of that goes on within the Rotary world. And so we should be definitely firing on 8 cylinders for both of those categories. So strive to use those emotional hooks whenever you've got an image that you're planning to post on Facebook. Please, please, please do me a favor. Do not show images of meetings. Do not show images of Zoom calls. Do not show images of check presentations. Now, I fully realize people in this image are smiling and they're happy, and I just said that's a good thing. But the reality is these images are now just used too often. It's the same old, and after a while, people want to see something fresh. They want to see a fresh idea. And another picture of another check presentation in the same old way is just not going to do it anymore. Now, actually, I was on a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and they had an idea. Is next time you do this type of image with a check presentation, hold the check upside down. That's going to generate some engagement because people are going to tell you got the check upside down. Or instead of showing them, that you gave let's say a food bank $2,500, show them like how many bags of potatoes or loaves of bread that can be bought for $2,500. So you make it real. Do it in front of the location. Show, if at all possible, the organization that you're helping being helped, or more importantly, the people that are being served by that organization. Show them being helped. Now, obviously, that's not easy because it's a sensitive issue when you're taking pictures of people that need help. They typically don't want to be in the picture. That's not always the case, but sometimes you can find that image. So at minimum, get people of the organization that you're helping in the shot doing uh, actively doing what that organization does. Okay. Again, and it's all about generating engagement. These images will not generate much engagement. Okay. Just as image or video format was important, image size is pretty important. We're not going to go through this in detail, but if you download a copy of this, you can take this as a reference. Certain sizes of images work better in certain parts of Facebook's Facebook's world. So if you've got just a regular image on your timeline, an image that's 1200 pixels by 630 pixels, that's the perfect size for that place in Facebook. If you've got a little profile picture, 180 by 180 is the size that image needs to be. So you've got the recommended image size, and if that doesn't work for you, we've got the aspect ratio. So 180 pixels by 180 pixels, the aspect ratio is 1:1. A shared image of 1200 by 630, the aspect ratio is 1.91:1, so kind of a 2:1 ratio. So use this, have this in your back pocket, so when you're cropping images, you're cropping to these dimensions. Okay, and that way they'll look beautifully within the Facebook platform. Color crop and color correct if at all possible. So hopefully you're more or less familiar with a couple of photo editing software packages. Most of them you have on your phone these days. Cropping is really important. So I'm not a photographer, but there's something called the rule of thirds, which basically says if you line up the focus or the focal point of your image with a line that represents a third of the image. So it could be this line, it could be that line, it could be this line, it could be that line. Um, it'll make a better image. It'll seem to be like a more interesting image. So if you've got the ability to do that, please do. And then of course, color correct. I'm certainly no photographer, but there's all kinds of little tools and WYSIWYGs on my phone or on my computer to allow me to take an average picture and turn it into a good picture. And so take the time, make it look good. It doesn't really actually take that much time, but it may take some time to learn how to use the tools, but once you know how to use them, it doesn't take that much time at all. Keep it simple. A single powerful image is way better than a dozen mediocre average images. It's so tempting to want to replace quantity with quality. Take the time to take a image up front and not worry about taking a dozen average images. And once you've got it, run with it. That said, if you're going to use more than one images, cap it at 3 if you can, and use a slideshow. It's much more better than a collage, or it's better than a collage, much more better. That's not even English. It's better than a collage. So something that kind of slowly scrolls through the frame of Facebook, one picture at a time, is better than showing kind of a mess of 3 or more pictures at a given time. Simple memes are good. A meme, in case you don't know it, if you've seen something that looks like this, so you have an image, you've got some captions actually on the picture, that's a meme. If you can make it clever and pertinent, that's great. In the world of Rotary, maybe it looks as simple as this. So again, just mirroring a strong image with a few words really gets the message across in a powerful way. And again, just as I said for videos, try to reflect these ideas of what it is to be a Rotarian in the types of images that you choose to put on your Facebook page. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this part of the presentation. I will talk about the power of headlines. If it shows up, there we go. Keep it short. A headline that has 10 or 15 words, not really a headline anymore. 4 or 5 words is best. We all want to try to be clever, but sometimes it's really tempting to be clever but not so clear. So strive to be clear before you try to be too clever. Use numbers. It sounds kind of gimmicky, but top 3 reasons or three easy tools for, that kind of works, because what it does is it lays out an expectation clearly in front of the prospective reader as to what they're going to see in a post. Use emotional words. There's a cute little tool here. If you actually type in a headline and you go to this link and you type the headline in a link, it's going to give you a score for how emotional your headline is. And I've used it a few times. It has the ability to kind of rate your headline on its emotional power. So again, if it's clear and it has emotional words, the better headline it's going to be. If it's clever and confusing, but it uses emotional words, not so good. But if you want to kind of test your abilities, go to that link, type in a headline you're thinking of using, and you might be delighted or unpleasantly surprised by what you find in terms of the strength of your headline. Negative words, I know we all want to be positive because we're Rotarians, but negative words can play a role in headlines. They actually do get noticed. Maybe it's the world of news, and people tend to gravitate towards bad news. I wouldn't overuse negative words, but every now and then, whether, if you want to have a negative headline like, people within Burlington still struggling with COVID-19, that's not a happy story, but it is a type of a headline that could generate some interest. And above all, this is an art, not a science. Test and tweak. So the nice thing about Facebook is you can post something with a headline, and let's say within 6 hours you're not getting any kind of interest in it. Go back in, edit it up, edit your post, change the headline, repost it, and see how it does. Maybe you'll find that a headline makes all the difference in terms of its ability to generate some interest. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about copy. If you go to the deck, there's more there, but I'm not going to cover it today. Hashtags, again, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about hashtags, other than I will show you. No, I don't have the ability to do this. Well, actually, all I'm going to say is just repeat the message. 2 or 3 hashtags that are pertinent. Hashtag is this pound sound, so pound sign. So if you put a pound sign in front of any word within a Facebook post, that creates a searchable link. So let's say I've got a post about RibFest, and at the bottom of the post, I put hashtag Burlington. As a user, I can click on that hashtag, and I'll be brought to a page that has all kinds of stories about things that are taking place in Burlington. So it creates kind of a community of stories. Now, having a hashtag like hashtag Burlington it's not bad, but the reality is you're going to be with all kinds of stories that happen throughout Burlington. There'll be thousands of them. It's going to be kind of a place that's littered with stories. So you could use a hashtag that way. I would recommend that you use hashtags a little bit more strategically. So thinking about RibFest, you may want to use something like hashtag Burlington RibFest. So, and use it on all the posts that you have that talk about RibFest, so that if a user clicks on that hashtag, they're going to be brought to a page that shows nothing but exclusive stories that have used the tag hashtag RibFest. So it becomes, instead of this big broad thing like hashtag Burlington, you narrow the focus for the user and it becomes things about RibFest. And that's how the power of hashtags can be used. Yes, Barb.
What about web links on Facebook?
Web links on Facebook are good if they take you to a good place. Facebook's algorithms can identify whether the link is strong or weak. If it's a weak link, the algorithm is not going to be working in your favor, i.e. your post may not be shown to as many people. If it's a great place, the algorithm will recognize that and increase the reach, or increase the number of people that actually see that post. That said, Facebook, doesn't love the fact that you're going to be taking people off of their platform if that link or URL takes them to another website or takes them to YouTube or another social media platform. So a link that keeps them within the Facebook world, that's best. Or a link that takes them to a content that is seen and appreciated by people, that's good too. Hashtag for D7080 that should be used. Don't really have one right now. I mean, there's pound 780. Actually, there is a hashtag out there right now. People are using it sporadically. If you go to it today, you're going to see all kinds of images from events and activities that have taken place throughout our district. We haven't really been curating that very well, but that is something that we do want to start using more strategically. Sorry, I'm just going to cough here, so I'm going to mute myself. Okay. Okay, we're going to talk about the power of advocates. People are much more likely to read a post that they know comes from a friend than one that comes from a brand or company. So let's say your club has 100 members and 50 of those members are on Facebook, and each one of those 50 members goes to your club's Facebook page and shares a post to their friends. That's what we call an advocate. That individual within your club that's sharing your club's post is an advocate of what your club is doing because they're sharing your post. And there's a good chance the friends of that individual will read that post because they're getting it from a friend, not a company. So what do you do to keep advocates? Just said, ask them to go to your club's website. Ask your members to go there regularly. They're not going to see all the posts from your club come across their feed. They're only going to see a small portion of them. They got to go to your Facebook profile to find what your club has been posting. So if they do that daily or weekly, there's a greater chance they'll find something that they like and they want to share. Okay, so it's something you should really be asking your club members to do for the good of your club. Ask them to share posts with their friends, but only if they're relevant. They don't want to inundate their friends with stuff that their friends find boring. Ultimately, they're going to find their friends will cut them off at the pass. Nobody wants that to happen. If people actually are commenting on the posts on your page, acknowledge their comments. So if somebody said, great job, Facebook or Lakeshore Rotary, love that Rib Fest, acknowledge that post or that comment, put a little like, or actually respond to it and say, thank you for liking our event. You're trying to create a conversation. So, respect that people took a bit of their time to comment to your post by curating it. If they actually leave a question, definitely reply to the question in as quickly as possible, because that's engagement. And again, the algorithm rewards engagement like that. When to use at? Is that right?
Well,
Yeah. So the question is, when do you use the at sign? So the at sign is used to tag people. So sorry, folks, I'm just going to go back 2 steps here. When to use the at symbol. So if I'm in Facebook and I've got a picture of, let's say I'm using my personal profile. I've got a picture of my son. My son's also in Facebook. And I say, hey, this is a great picture of my son, Graham Dubreuil. If I type in the word, if I type in the symbol at and then the word Graham, if that individual, Facebook will show me all the Grahams I'm currently friends with on Facebook and allow me to, what they say, tag the Graham I want to tag, Graham Dubreuil. As soon as I do that, as soon as I post that specific post, Graham Dubreuil will be specifically notified that, hey, somebody's put a tag of you on their timeline, and this is what it is. So it's a way of letting people know that you've talked about them in your post. So I encourage you doing that if you think it can create some social discussion. But don't go overboard. Ultimately, people who are tagged have the ability to allow that tag to be seen by others. It's a default within Facebook. I control where my name gets shown if it's posted by somebody else. Tags aren't used too often by old folks like me. People that are millennials and 20-somethings, they tend to use them more often, but they do have a role if you want to call out somebody within the content of a specific post. Okay, so back to managing advocates. Actually, using tags could be another way to use advocates. So if you know somebody who definitely would have an interest in something you post, you could tag them within that post so they see your post for sure, and maybe if they like it so much, they'll share it with some of their friends. Okay. So here's a quick, I'm a numbers guy, sorry, but here's some quick math on the power of advocates. Let's say your club has 50 members. Each one of those members has 200 friends on Facebook. And let's say those 50 members all share a given post to their friends. Well, maybe a third of that 200 friends of each one of those people will see that post. And all of a sudden that post generates exposure of 3,300 people. So that's good. You start with 50 members, it goes to a third of each one of those people's friends. All of a sudden you got some pretty decent exposure for a message. And that's the power of advocacy. If I compare that to a page that has 1,000 followers, and no advocates, and they post something that gets seen by 5% of its followers, that means that post only got seen by 50 people. Compare 50 people to 3,300 people, all of a sudden the power of advocates becomes really clear. Let's say you've got a post that generates 30% sharing. So you got 100,000 followers, you post something, it's really good content, the algorithm shares it to more people, 33% of your followers see it, only 330 people get to see that post. So again, compare 330 to 3,300, and you recognize what advocates can do. It also acts like a bit of a Kickstarter, if you will, a catalyst to get the post recognized by Facebook's algorithm so more and more people see it. Okay, so this is a very, very important part of success on Facebook. Corporations today will ask, bribe, incent their employees to become advocates of their Facebook pages for the simple reason of they understand its power. Okay, hopefully, Rotary. Think about Facebook. It's almost perfectly designed for organizations like Rotary, where nobody's paid here, but we're all trying to do the same thing within the confines of our organization and/or our club. So it should be a pretty easy ask to get advocates to, go to your profile page on a regular basis and share posts that are important for your club. Okay, I'm not going to go through this in detail, but there are some places where you can go to get good content. So again, if you're planning 4 or 5 posts a week, plan on 2 original posts, borrow 3 or 4. Go to the district Facebook page. That's a good place to find hopefully some content that is worth sharing within our district. Definitely encourage you to join our Facebook group. Now, our Facebook group is different than our page. Anybody can see our page. Our Facebook group is meant for Rotarians within our district. So it's kind of a closed environment. It's more of a place to kind of, let your hair down, talk about what's real within your community, within your club, within the district. And you have to essentially be granted permission to join that community. I'm one of the admins for that page, so as long as you're a Rotarian in good standing, you're more than welcome to join that group, and I definitely encourage everybody to do that. Facebook International, from Facebook on Rotary International, another great source of content. Neighboring Facebook districts, Toronto or Hamilton, other great places for content. The Brand Center for Rotary International, big place to get images and videos that you can use, not worrying about trademarks. Vimeo and YouTube have videos as well. Some of them may have trademarks issues associated with them, but it is a good place that you can use some of the videos there that aren't trademarked in specific ways. Our own homepage, every month we put out a bulletin that's got 6 or 8 different stories. Maybe some of them are worth sharing on your page. Get the word out. That's another group. It's Michelangelo Caruso's group. He is the communications coordinator for our zone. He puts out a really good hub where he's posting ideas on how to generate interest in Rotary. Okay, so go to those places if you're looking for ideas at any point in time. You'll never be wanting for the ability to share something good. You'll find it there for sure. Okay, quickly, a couple of creative development tools. So you're in a position of creating content. Here are a few tools that are going to help you out. There's a product called Canva. I definitely recommend that everybody uses. It is, I just discovered it a year ago. I think it's probably been around for 4 or 5 even longer years. It makes finding images that you have the rights to and videos that you have the rights to really, really easy. And it makes finding them in the format that can be used on Facebook or other social media platforms really, really easy. It's made as a tool to find images, grab them, use them in posts. That's its reason for being. So go there, sign up. So when you get there, the page is going to look something like this. The nicest thing about it, it is free for nonprofit. So if your club is any one of these 3 things within Canada, you can get a free account. Now, if you don't get a free account, it's not the end of the world. I think Canva only costs about $15 a month, but it's got millions and millions and millions. I think it's 60 million images and millions of videos that you can use that are downloadable, that are searchable. It is indispensable for original content. So go use it. Okay. PowerPoint, I'm going to kind of zoom through this really quickly. A couple other tools. PowerPoint, if you don't know how to use PowerPoint today, it is one of the tools. It's got a lot of power to it. It allows you to do a lot of interesting things. I obviously did this presentation on PowerPoint, but you can do basic photo editing in PowerPoint. You can do animations and morphs within PowerPoint. You can do screen captures within PowerPoint. You can do GIFs and slideshows within PowerPoint. A lot of stuff that's really easy to do that is done in a lot more complicated software is possible in PowerPoint. Windows Windows 10 video editor, sorry. Really good for video editing if you want to do some basic stuff. Audacity music editor, a free piece of software, gives you the basics to edit music. And then Snip and Sketch, which is a little tool that comes with Windows 10. Really encourage you how to use that too. It allows you to, grab stuff and images off your screen that you can embed in other presentations or on your posts. Okay. So if you're serious about getting some good content that's original, definitely look into these tools. They'll go a long way. And again, if you have questions about them, track me down. I'm happy to talk to you on the phone about where to find them or how to use them. Okay. Okay. Got about 5 minutes left, I think, right? Nope. I'm done?
You're on time.
I'm at time. Okay. I'm just going to zoom through this really, really quickly. Okay. There are a couple of things that I suggest every club start to monitor. Okay. The number of followers and fans you have and where they're located. How many page views you get in a given month. How many posts you put out in a month. And how far did those posts reach? And then most importantly, what's the engagement of all the stuff you did in a given month, okay? These are the definitions. I'm not going to go through them in general, but that's what I do for the region. Every month, once a month, at the end of the month, I kind of go, okay, how are we doing? So at the end of July, how many followers did we have? How many page views did we get? How far did my posts reach? What was the best post that I did? In this case, this one post generated a reach, or it reached almost 800 people. And what was our total engagement? So I encourage every club to start going in monthly and track their success. And then if you want to, set some goals for the end of the year so that you're actually moving towards a goal. It's pretty simple. I'm just going to show you where to find it on Facebook. Hopefully this link will work. Don't bog me down too much. 1, 2, 3, come on, let's go. It is not working quickly. It's not working at all. Okay, but if you go, I'll just speak to it. If you go into Facebook, the top nav bar, type nav bar, oh, there we go. You're going to see something that, oh, I can log in first. Darn it, forget it. We're going to stop that there. There we go. I'm going to just speak to it. If you go to Facebook, at the top of your page's Facebook screen, you're going to see an Insights tab. If you, yeah, I realize that. We're essentially over. If you go to that Insights tab, it will have all the metrics that I just showed you on that little one page. And it's going to show you actually a lot more. There are literally hundreds of metrics you can track on Facebook. It does it for you. You don't need to do anything. It's just there sitting for you, tracking whether you look at them ever or not. But go to the Insights tab and try to find the 4 or 5 most critical metrics, the ones I just outlined for you in that Facebook PowerPoint presentation, and look at them. Look at them once a month and try to figure out how you're doing over time. And the idea is we're looking for growth. We're looking for more followers. We're looking for more engagement. So that as a district, our clubs become stronger and Rotary as a result becomes stronger. Okay, so I'm 3 minutes over. I apologize there. There was a lot of content. I'm going to.
If there are some specific questions, are you able to
Yeah.
to them individually?
Yeah, exactly. So at this point that the presentation's over, I'm going to pause recording and answer any specific questions people have through chat. So Barb's going to feed them to me. I'll repeat them. And if people want to stay on to listen to the Q&A, they're more than welcome to. But if they want to get onto their beautiful Saturday morning, I can certainly understand that as well. Okay, thanks. Barb, any questions?
Yes. A question from Dale. So your website should be more information, ? Facebook or social media should be conversation, advertising, etc.
Right. So the question is, what's the role of a web page versus the role of social media? Your web page is your home base. So your web page should have the basic information about your club, where you're located, when you meet, who's in the board, who's got what position. Should talk about and highlight any kind of projects that you've done, whether it's local fundraising projects or where your funds are going to in the community, or international projects that you've supported. And of course, invite people to come and join your meetings. Now, it's a little not so interesting these days because of Zoom, but certainly when we get back to normal, get people to your meetings and ensure they have the ability to contact a live person to talk about their Rotary Club so they get a real live invite. So it's your home base. It should always kind of be, it's your house. It's there. It's got everything you need to be to show the public and your own, obviously your own club members what you're about. Facebook is much more kind of transactional. It's there to kind of be a bit of a diary, if you will, about what your club is up to in real time. And it allows, because the information stays there, it never really disappears. You can go back in time and see what you did last year and the year before, or other people can if they're interested in doing that. But it's much more dynamic because of the fact that it's a social media platform. People can comment and potentially comment, leave messages that let them know that you're kind of a living, breathing organization that has ideas and is encouraging engagement within the community.
Can you confirm about sending out the slides?
So just reconfirming, I will send out an email on Monday. It'll have a link to this presentation, the PowerPoint presentation. It'll also have a link to the video that we're taking of this presentation.
Would we include or tag Rotaractors in the Rotary webpage?
Include or tag Rotaractors? Yeah, absolutely. If it's different to the story that you're looking to post. So again, posting with a purpose. If your story is about Rotaract, yeah, you'd want to tag that as an organization, or you may want to tag specific individuals who are Rotaractors, so that they're automatically made aware that a story about them has been posted, and that may make it easier for them to share that story with some of their friends and followers.
Going back to privacy, are clubs having members sign privacy forms in the instance that club members video?
So the question is, are clubs having members sign privacy forms? I don't have a general answer for that. Some clubs may be doing that. In the 2 clubs that I've been in the past year and a half or so, I've never been asked to do that. I think the general feeling is that if you're a Rotarian within a club and your picture's being taken at an event, that it's kind of for the good of the club and that you probably won't object to it. That said, it is probably worth asking if you feel an individual may have another point of view on that. Just ask them, and if they, politely, with no judgment whatsoever, ask them if they can have their picture taken or their image shown in a video. And if they say no, no big deal. Just find somebody else to take a video of, because they have their perspective for valid reasons, and we shouldn't be judging them for those reasons.
How do I see all posts from a particular group, for example, youth exchange students?
All posts from a particular group. That's where hashtags are used. So let's say we've got 10 youth exchange students in our country, and we want to encourage them to share their experiences. A couple things we can do. We can create a Facebook page for them all to contribute to, or we can ask them that whenever they post something on their individual Facebook page, that they use a common hashtag. So maybe it's exchange 2020-2021. So hashtag exchange 2020-21, and it's the last thing that they put on their specific messages. So if everybody does that, if all 10 students do that through the course of their exchange, anytime anybody within Facebook clicks on that hashtag, they'll be brought to a new page that shows nothing but posts from those students. That would be a great, again, kind of a Facebook scrapbook idea that would show you shared experiences of the individual students within the district. So again, hashtags can be used very well strategically if they create a community of people or a community of an idea. Where they're abused is when the definition of that hashtag is so broad that everybody in the kitchen sink is putting something into the hashtag. Now, nobody owns a hashtag. It is a public entity. Anybody can create one, anybody can use one. You may find content that you actually didn't want in your hashtag stream. That's life. You can't really do much about it.
If we have a page, should we start a group to engage new members?
So the question is, if you already have a page, should you start your own group to engage new members? You can. I would, though, actually, and maybe I've got a bias on this, I would actually encourage them to join the district group. So everybody I would love it if every Rotarian within our district was in our district group. So we not only get cross-pollination of ideas from club members within a club, we get them from members across clubs. And I think there's more power in that. I think, seeing a good idea come from another club in the group where you actually see discourse coming on and that type of thing happening, that can go a long way to validating the strength of an idea than just an idea that might be shared among, obviously a much smaller size group that only happens within a club. So right now, as it stands, our district, I think, has about 300 or 400 members within our district group. I'd love to see that go to over 1,000. So, people that are actively contributing each and every month. You can do it in your club, nothing against the idea, but I think there's the power is greater by a bigger group.
Can you do a session on how to prospect within Rotary for new members? There are companies now offering to switch to businesses on invite a demographic people to talk in seminars.
So the question is, can we do a webinar about prospecting new members for Rotary? Membership isn't really my thing, because I've talked a lot about membership, because PR is obviously the first face of membership and recruitment. I'd be happy to bring that to the co-chair of the membership committee at the district level and work with him on a webinar and kind of a tag team event. But ultimately, I think it would kind of be in his court. But let's definitely capture that idea. Membership webinar.
Yeah,
okay.
There may have been some things that I missed that you can address individually.
Okay. Okay, I think that's about it for comments, or at least comments that generated maybe one or two common threads of posts. Again, I'm open and available. Love to work with each of you to get allow you to have a stronger Facebook presence. And one of my goals as chairman of the committee is to get our total cumed Facebook followers for all the clubs in our district up about I think 10 or 20% this year. So I need everybody's help and success to be able to do that. So again, anything we can do, better sharing, better posts, more engagement will help us along that path. Okay. Well, thanks, folks. I appreciate you taking your time out of your morning to sit in. I think we had a pretty good turnout today, about 70 or maybe even 80 people or so.